Thank you, Matt. Boy, lots of emotion on this stage. Our many years in this church, and our kids went to school here at Sunrise Christian School. Tessa and Lindsay and Adam and Jordan, and they'd have little plays on this stage. This is my first time taking the stage. So this is a big deal for me and whatnot. It's so good to be here. I do say be careful what you pray for, because some of the challenges we face today, some have asked me if I've asked for a recount, and I absolutely have not. I am the most fortunate and the most blessed governor in the history of Alaska. I can say that without hesitation because of how I got here. Lots of prayer went into us getting to where we are. The real blessing is every day I go to work with Byron Malott. And it's just, when I love the discussion of diversity. I love diversity. We became the unity ticket. And it's the only time we believe the history of our nation, not just our state, our nation, when somebody filed to run as a Republican, somebody filed to run as a Democrat for the same office, and along the way, as Byron says so well, we forged a friendship. We forged a friendship because we ate meals together. We rode on four-wheelers together in Gamble, and neither of us pushed each other off. We spent about a year together. And it became pretty obvious. It was actually in Nome. As Byron said, we had our first date in Nome. In Nome, after we got done speaking to a group in Nome, and it was the Alaskan Municipal League, people from all over the state, they lined up in two lines, and the message was the same. Listen to what you're saying. You're both saying the same thing. You're both saying, you're expressing your love for Alaska far exceeds your love for politics. It wasn't long after that we had our sit down and we had an adult conversation about the future of our state. I said, Byron, we're going to be responsible for whatever happens to the future of the state, one way or the other. And so he did something that has never been done before. He said, I'll run with you as your lieutenant governor. His office is right next to mine. The way it's set up in Juneau is on the third floor. I'm at one end, the lieutenant governor is at the far end. You go through a bunch of causeways and security here and there, and at the other end is the suite office of the lieutenant governor. Not anymore. His is right next to mine. Every morning, if I don't see him by 10 o'clock, I'll go looking for him. Where's Byron this morning? And he sits in on virtually every meeting I have. He's welcome at every single meeting I have. It's because we had a common goal. Our goal was to help Alaska, to make Alaska a better Alaska. So I look out at the discussion that Matt and Elizabeth suggested at the tables. That's what we did during our transition process. We brought together 250 Alaskans from all walks of life, from all over Alaska. We narrowed down about 10,000 Alaskans down to 250 Alaskans. Very difficult to do, but we wanted people on different sides of very contentious issues. It was fabulous. It was absolutely fabulous. It's because we talked to each other. And there's a saying that if you're not, at the table, you're on the table. And sometimes that's the case. You got to be at the table. You got to have the discussion that needs to take place. Matt, what you did for us in the campaign, he let Elizabeth come on our team, which was absolutely phenomenal. And Elizabeth is now our faith liaison for the state of Alaska. And Elizabeth, could you stand up a moment? I just want to acknowledge you for what you do. You are absolutely phenomenal in what you do for us. But you'll see drawings of the inaugural balls had two drawings. Both Matt had done both of them. One of them is a dog team that's made up of pulling a dog sled. It's made up of a moose, a bear. I think there might be a dog in there somewhere. One dog, but just a whole bunch of different animals pulling this team, and that's sort of the unity team. That's sort of the diversity of our administration and diversity of our state. So, thank you so much for that. And then there's one with somebody, little boy in an outhouse. That's another story. That's me, and I'll tell that another time. But it's and Malcolm and Cindy, what you have done on bridge builders with such a vision. I know it wasn't just you, but you guys worked so hard on the bridge builders effort, and now Ms. First Lady Donna is taking that on a statewide basis and looking at other opportunities elsewhere in Alaska for that concept. The concept is the same. You know, we're the most diverse city probably in the world, and I think 95 languages are spoken in the Anchorage School District, I believe is what it is. If that isn't diverse, I don't know what is. So we're embracing that. You're embracing that, and we're following your lead in Juneau to do the same thing. So diversity is becoming one of my favorite words because of what I've seen happen when people sit down and have a discussion, have a meal, and talk about issues. You know, the unity process. There's a lot of I guess there's a lot of love involved in that. We're working on that with the legislature. We got a little ways to go with that. You know, we haven't had the transitions quite so much. But you know, the other morning, I invited a member of the legislature to the governor's house. We call it the People's House because it is the People's House. You know, before we had breakfast, I asked if he would mind if I asked a blessing. And you know, to sit and pray with those you might not see eye to eye with on certain things, it just sort of brings it all into focus for me. And so I think that's you know, you talk about prayer. Goodness, prayer is so powerful in what I do. It's part of my daily being. Every morning, I start my day on my knees at a very special place in the People's House that I've designated as my prayer chair room, and it's just very, very. I couldn't do what I do. I couldn't face the issues we face without starting my day that way. That is so critical. And so I thank you. I know there are prayers throughout for this administration, for the decisions that Byron and myself have to make on a daily basis. I was in Ketchikan recently, and I attended a church of Ann Graham Radford's church, and they asked me if they could pray for me. My goodness, that we do not have to report to APOC, the prayers. And it's interesting. The very best gift that we can get is it's reportable free. So those, you know, if anybody, when people ask me what can do, it's, you know, we just really appreciate the prayers. That's really been very, very critical. I'm given some great talking points, and I haven't even gotten to those yet, and, because I tend to speak from here a bit, and not so much from here, because that's just the way it works for me. But some things I do want to say very specifically. I am so fortunate to have the team that I should say we have as a state. We are tackling some big problems, but I think it's helpful that Byron and I were both born here, just from the standpoint, when we were born here, the price of oil was $0, so it's come up $46 since we were born. So that's just how we look at it. I mean, somebody said it was like $147 some years ago. I can't imagine what it'd be like to be governor or lieutenant governor, $150 of oil. I know it's like to be at $46 oil, but not so much at. But one thing we have enjoyed though is I have taken a page from Governor Hickle's book, and I enjoyed him so much, and thanks to Malcolm and Cindy, we really had a wonderful relationship with Governor Hickle. But he used to have a rule at the Captain Cook that anybody could come in and talk to him, who worked in the Captain Cook, anytime for 3 minutes. But the first minute and a half could be the problem, but you had to have that second minute and a half had to be the solution. And I use that almost on a daily basis when people come to see us, and they'll help explain a challenge or a problem they're having. But I always tell them that story and say, and many of them have come back now with a solution. It's become a little bit of a challenge for them to come back in with a solution, because we don't know all the answers to everything, but we know where to find them, and we find them out in Alaska. Sometimes I find them early in the morning on my knees, and so thank you for the prayers, for the ongoing support that we have received. You know, let me just say that our challenge isn't to overcome one another with our own beliefs, Too much time and effort has been given to using faith as something that divides us. And that really comes into, the partisan politics dividing us rather than really what's best for the state. Divisiveness is not constructive. Our challenge as people of faith is to exemplify a better way, to live the example of compassion and cooperation. In order to build that cooperation, we are committed to protecting the rights of all people. It is not our perspective that there is any religion reviewed as an enemy of the state. That a person's religion should never be a reason to view them as suspect. Within that atmosphere of mutual respect, each of our religions gives us the sacred duty to care for the other. We are all called, or commanded, or compelled to care for our neighbors, to do to others as we would have others do to us. It is not enough to simply think kind thoughts. We are called to actively care for others. With that in mind, I would like to ask the faith community to care for others by praying for the efforts that I and my team have undertaken to expand Medicaid. There are too many of our friends, neighbors, family members, co-workers, and parishioners who struggle and suffer daily without the health care that they need. They work 2, 3, sometimes 4 jobs just to make ends meet. Expanding Medicaid is the right thing to do. Now, Matt said we weren't going to talk about religion and politics. I think we have sufficiently crossed those both of those. But I must say that it has been heartwarming, the kind of response that we've received from across the state on some of the issues that we are taking on. One gentleman looked at our cabinet. He said, "What are you people?" All of our cabinet members. I said, "We're Alaskans. You can't find one particular party or another particular party as dominant in our administration. We're Alaskans." So the Medicaid issue, it is the right thing to do, expanding that. We appreciate those that have stepped up and provided testimony, provided communication. It's those without health care, it's time that they receive the health care that's available to them. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens. Thank you very much to the military for what our military in Alaska do, the veterans that are here today. I take very seriously being the commander-in-chief of our military, so I'm honored to be in this role. I'm anxious for the session to be such a point where I can actually go out and engage like I would like to engage as the commander-in-chief. It's pretty tough to get out of Juneau. I'm great to be here tonight. I'm so glad that our daughter Tessa and grandson Walker Ross Lindemann are here for the weekend. You couldn't keep me away from being in Anchorage this weekend. So thank you very much for that, Tessa and Walker. And with that, I just want to once again thank you very much. It's just an honor to be here. I did pick up at the home show today a book, something about 21 days to get off of sugar. I will be starting that tomorrow, I think, will be the plan. I looked at that, looked at this incredible display of dessert and said, today isn't the day for that. One more day and I'll look at that. So anyway, thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you for putting this together. And I know this will be the first of many. And it's some pretty wonderful things happen when people from different walks of life sit down and share a meal, share a conversation, share a cup of coffee. And I'm so glad to be able to say a few words. And thank you so much. And God bless you. God bless Alaska.
Thank you, Governor Walker. I'm going to invite Jody forward here. She's going to make an invitation